Be'ezer Hashem, the Kovet Chanukah Toshem Pei Daled is a fascinating Yesod in Kedushas Levi, Kedusha Revius. The Baditcher Berov, the author of the Sefer Kedushas Levi, as Kedushas. That's how he calls it. Kedusha Torah that he wrote on Chanukah and on Purim. And there's a big Yesod in Yiddishkeit. So Kedusha Revius, he explains something fascinating regarding Bitochen. And he explains it to explain the Gemaras of Chanukah. We know that there's a machlokes b'shamai b'silil how a person should light the 8 days, the candles of Chanukah. If you should start off with 8 and go downwards, or start off with 1 and go up. We pass like b'silil, moisef v'hoilach. The Gemara says that each of those mahalchim could be explained. B'shamai said you should be Porches v'hoilach keneged porei achag, which means that on Yom Tov from Sukkot, Yidden would be makriv, special korbanos, which represent like the Umoy Sa'olam. And they would start off with 13 and then go down to 12. Each day they did less and less. And those korbanos are to bring out that the Umoy Sa'olam, the koyach of the tumah in the world, is going to get less and less. And Basil says that Chanukah should be Moise v'hoilach, and the Gemara explains because Ma'alam b'kodesh v'lo meridin. Whenever you do something in Kedusha, you should be always adding and going upwards. Don't do something taking it down. So what's the Yesod HaMachlokes? So the Kedushas Levi says like this: when a person is missing something, for example, that they're hungry, so there are 2 parts to the pain. One is that a person has a strong desire that their rotten should be fulfilled. The thinking that they want to reach a destination that is food. And they have a tsar in the meantime that they don't have what they need and they are being mishtoikik. That means not the tsar of the hunger, that the body is hungry. No, there's something else besides that. That's one tsar. There's a tsar right now. The body is hungry to eat food, thirsty to drink. But then there's a separate tsar, which is that the person feels like, why don't I have food? They're thinking about the situation that they don't have food. They're hoping it's ever going to come. They're worried that maybe it's never going to come. That's a separate tsar. Now, what happens if they're in the desert and the midbar, and then all of a sudden, this motorcycle passes by with a little bag with food and drink, a Coke, So he says, even before the person ate, the person becomes so with simcha. Why? Because look what happened. Baruch Hashem, I have food. It means the lachatz and you need more words to explain the hergeshim of the uncertainty. Anxiety that they don't have the food. And in the Bemis they're worried. And Baruch Hashem, they got food, is a moedige simcha. Even if they're still thirsty and hungry, because they didn't eat yet. Some people, the first thing they would do is they would take out their phone and take a picture and send messages and call people. You're not going to believe what happened, but you're still hungry. Zok the Kedushas Levi, with this example, he explains, because right now, the bigger part of your pain was solved. You have pas besalo. You feel like a new person. Is a moedige simcha. Now we have to remind ourselves, we learned the Sefer Ikrim so many times, that the spitz of atzvos, depressed, and happiness is totally when a person has a strong desire, and the more the person feels he's not going to get there, and he's not there and he doesn't have it, it's painful. It's painful in the mind, and it's mamash at kedei, it can make the person be depressed. And the spitz, what simcha is when someone is after such years of yearning and davening and hoping and wishing, and it actually their dream became true. When that touches you, when you get that besura, that your dream became true, the nefesh has such a simcha, such a deep, deep simcha. Even, like the Kedushas Levi explains, that it didn't happen yet, like you have the money. You get a besura that you won the lottery, you didn't use the money, but it's that rotzon was nismale, he calls it. It was fulfilled, the desire of the person. That's what the Kedushas Levi explains. Then, once the person eats, back to the example, a person that's he's be'emes hungry and thirsty, when they eat and drink, then they have a different type of simcha, that they're Baruch Hashem satisfied. The Yeshiva Das, Baruch Hashem, I feel so much better. Person that needed a drink of water after hours and hours being in the sun, now they have a different type of simcha, that they have water. Zok the Kedushas Levi, very interesting yesod. Biyachas to the first type of tsar, which was the hishtoikakus, not the being hungry. It was that the person, the anxiety of it, the thinking about it, the rotzen that they wanted so bad, I wish I could have food. That, when the solution comes to that problem, then the first second that it meets the person, that Baruch Hashem, it's Mesuda, that's when they have the biggest part of the simcha. And as time goes on, it becomes less and less. Less and less. It could take like 5 minutes. Not more than that. 5 minutes is even Lashon Hakiyah. And then it becomes part of the norm. Zokta with the Kedushas Levi. But b'yachas to being hungry, it works the opposite. It means a person ate 1 spoon, he's not yet and satisfied. Another spoon. Till Baruch Hashem, he got there, he became to a matzav of visavoto. So the Kedushas Levi, it's so geschmack. That's why when a person is thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom on a besura toiva, you're supposed to thank the second you hear. Noiled ben zochar, hatoiv hametiv. Because if you're going to wait till you put on a gartel, until you're going to, you know what I mean, then it's not, you don't have that excitement anymore. You're be'emes. But when a person got the besura be'emes, you're serious, sometimes you could hear, even the poshet tzach and a mazel tov, you hear on the other side of the phone, and you want to ask with who. You know what I mean? That second, the excitement is in its peak. And that's when you're supposed to make Hatav HaMeitiv. Mashenka, when a person is thanking on Soiva, V'chalta v'savoto v'rachta. The Gemara Masechtas Brachas, after you eat, you're satisfied, you finished eating, now we're going to go bench. Because that's the height, the peak of the Geschmack, when a person is Saveya, is after he ate, when he finished. Oh, so this is gross. You saw this because we know the truth, but it's a good ogelant, and a person is supposed to serve the Rebbeinu Shalom with it. It means using the Yisoidis to be able to serve the Rebbeinu Shalom better. Zog the Kedushas Levi, back to Chanukah, that when the Yidden weren't able to light the menorah, they had both problems. And really, every person, when they're not being matzliach and ruchnius, they have 2 problems. They so badly want. The be'emes wants a gate nisht. They tried this way, they tried the other way. But it didn't, the Vaila, it's not working yet. You know, but so many thousands of people saying, I davened, I tried, it's not going. So that's one problem, is the desire. Here, it's not going to pass to say the anxiety. It's more the unfulfilled desire. Unfulfilled desire. It's so deep. And this is what it schleps down a person. And it's not only when it comes to ruchnias, it could be sometimes when it's the ruchnias of your children. It could be many different aspects in a person's life, that like it didn't happen. Now it's 2 parts to the problem. But let's go back to the menorah. There's a unfulfilled desire. We should be zoiche to light the menorah. But then there was a different problem. The problem was that they didn't light the menorah. So I the Kedushas Levi. But then when a person didn't do a mitzvah, he's missing the lichtigkeit from the mitzvah. Stam. Even if you wouldn't have any desire, you didn't do it, you don't have what an neshama needs to have it. You need to have chiyas. And the Yidden, when the Yevonim came and were metama all the shemen, they were challenged with both parts of the nisoyan, that they so badly wanted to light the menorah, and they were missing the chiyas of lighting the menorah itself, the gufa mitzvah. To say the lashon from the Kedushas Levi, he says, "Dover shenafshe shalodem is avesh etzorach loy." Something that the nefesh craves and so badly wants it. Ve'eni yedeya heich yemalei retzoynei v'tzorka v'davos. He doesn't know how the Rebbeinu Shem is going to help that my needs are going to be met, and I should be able to be zoche to do it. He had a special tsar from that craving. V'oid, they had tsar because they weren't mekayem mitzvahs menorah. Zok the Kedushas Levi. Now, the Yidden, when they were in this Nisoyan, and the Rebbeinu Shem made a nes. What's the nes? So the Kedushas Levi says that the Turei Zov explains the famous Beis Yosef's Kasha. It means how, in what form did the nes happen? That the shemen, that the oil was enough for 8 days. So the Mahalach from the Taz, the Turei Zov, is commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. In Hilchas Chanukah, he explains that the first night the oil didn't finish burning, and they saw that there's enough oil left so the bracha could be chal. The Rebbeinu Shem showed them that he's saving for them that it could burn another day. So he says like this: then they saw that the Rebbeinu Shem wants their menorah and is doing for them a nes, and the Ikka Simcha was that we're going to be matzliach. I don't know exactly how, but it's happening. Hashem is actually doing something for us and is helping us. It's like the besura that's coming, that it's on the way up. The Rebbeinu Shem is making a nes. The simcha that they had was that they saw sheniftuchu sharei bracha. The sharei bracha opened up, and there's something here, something is going on that your bakosha is going to get in this male. Many times, someone gets an update, they should just know that while we're talking here, someone is talking to that, asking about you. There's something happening. There's something cooking. Yeah, someone that's waiting for a shidduch for 10 years, and then there's something going on. So they don't have the Yeshua yet, but they feel niftechu lahem sharei bracha. They have like the besura that something is happening. It calms them down. He says it's like people that are lost in the midbar, toye midbaros, can't find their way, and then they entered Ir Moshav, somewhere that, there's houses here. You could see light in the end of the tunnel. They didn't yet eat in the house, but they see there's something going on. Zok the Kedushas Levi, they didn't yet have shemen for 8 days, and they were still, they were in doubt if they're actually going to be able to have the mitzvah all the way till the end. So he calls it that they didn't have the lechem. They had the besura, but they didn't have the gufa mitzvah yet. Afterwards, when they had a nes, v'yidlichu bo shmoina yomim, then they had the simcha from the kiyum mitzvahs ba'atzma, like they ate. That's a different type of simcha. Zoi bazoi, zoi the Kedushas Levi. So now we could understand the two shitas of Beshami and Besil, and it works like this. Like we mentioned, the simcha of the not being sure what's going to be the matziv, the unfulfilled desire, is a kind of simcha that's poiches v'hoilech. Because by the psura, it's the peak, and then you get used to it, and it's not so, you're not feeling the contrast between not having and having. It's like it's posha that you have it. Mashenka, the simcha of the kiyam mitzvah, it becomes more and more by the person. Another mitzvah, so going into the matzah, you know what it will be like. Imagine the geschmack of Sipu Yitzias Mitzrayim. When you start off, you still have to get into it. But once you got into it, then it's geschmacka. Adrabah, like someone is saying halal in the beginning, they have to enter, but then they have a soiva from the halal itself. By Bazoi, the Kedushas Levi learns that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel were referring to two different types of simchas, and there's a reason for it. Beis Shammai is saying every person should be poiches v'hoilach because he says the first night, that's like the night, because that's when they saw that the Rebbeinu Shem is helping them. And then, slowly, then another night, till the end of Chanukah. Mashenkin Beis Hillel is referring to the schiyas of the mitzvah itself. And that's why Beis Hillel is saying that as it went on, there was zeichel another mitzvah, there was zeichel to become another mitzvah. They became so full of schiyas and closeness to the Rebbeinu Shem. But the Kedushas Levi continues on. And he says that the reason why Beis Shammai is referring to this tzar, and Beis Hillel is referring to the tzar of not having the mitzvah itself, is because Hillel, we learn in the Gemara, had a special kind of bitochen in the Rebbeinu Shem. Many Gemaras, Hillel heard that there's a cry coming out of one of their houses. He says, I'm sure that it's not coming out of my house. Why? So, Pashtas, one of the pshatim in that Gemara is because I was machanach, my family, to be so besimcha. How's the pasuk say? Mishmur lo yira nochen liboy batuach b'Hashem. If it's nochen liboy batuach b'Hashem, then it's mishmur lo yira. Many Gemaras, how Beis Hillel was a special boiteach. He says, Midos Ish Hillel was shoyom muftach b'chaz de Hashem sheyas etom etoivus u'brachos. He was muftach. He was sure. So that's why Beis Hillel doesn't understand what's the problem of an unfulfilled desire. The problem is you don't have a mitzvah. You don't have a problem that what's going to be. Because the Rebbeinu Shem is going to bring it should be l'toiv. So if that's the whole problem, then it's moisav ha'oilach. Not like the Beis Shammai, which is Tzimtzum, which we don't find in the Gemara, this madrega of bitochen by Beis Shammai. Not that we don't have hasog in Beis Shammai, but so weiter Beis Hillel, I think he brings it also that Midas Shel Hillel, that he was zicher the Eibishter is gonna. I'm not sure that he brings that Gemara. Michad l'Shabbat is Beis Shammai or Beis Hillel? I denke schon nicht. Yeah. Now this shtickle of Kedushas Levi is a very big chizik and a hadrocha. It's so beautiful, like a taich na Chanukah, but it's beautiful hadrocha. Why? Because if we start reminding ourselves how we look when we go through a situation in life, then we would realize that 80, 90 and more % of the tzar is being worried of your desire not being fulfilled. It's not about the etzem zach, right? The etzem zach has a tzar. I'm not saying that not. Sometimes it's like a row of a person has a tzar. And especially when a person has physical pain, it's mitzvah, he has a problem. But in the bigger percentage, minimum 50%, but it's more than that, the person has two problems at once. One is the issue, and one is what are we going to do about the issue? And now they're imagining and they're seeing pictures in their mind of how this is going to continue. It's going to be a disaster. And that's a separate tsar, and it's a deeper tsar. One of the reasons why it's a deeper tsar is because it doesn't have any limits. It means when a person has a situation, it is what that's the problem, and though it's limited. A person that has debt of $1,000 he owes to you, so it's $1,000 problem. But when he's choleming about $1,000 and he's thinking about what's going to happen, that the next day in shul the person is going to make him bizyonis, and no one's going to want to do shidduchim with him, the whole thing. That's much more than $1,000. It doesn't end because the imagination of the person is the loy gvul. Kamus eichus, it tears the person apart. So a person has to realize the erste zach that we're going through two separate matzovim. They're going through that, and they're going through the pain. The pain k'shla'atzma. Aber was steht da? So 1 second. So let's finish this part. So a person should know the more you're gonna go Beit Hillel, stop being so worried about the repercussions of what's happening. Of all this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. So what's this second? What's the problem? No, right now, no problem. I'm just saying. Don't just say. You know what I mean? The problem itself, you should know, it's not so big. It's the pain that a person has to work on themselves to get rid of the second half. The shnegeya. The Rebbeinu should helfen.
To say if a bacher heard a bas kol, that when you're 25 years old, you're going to have a wonderful shidduch. He's now 19.
He's going to have great years. Yeah. He's just worried that who says, but maybe by me not. It's chaval. It's chaval. The Rebbeinu is going to feel the problem kishal atzmoi is minor many times. Aber es steht auch noch eine Sache. And it's very, very important. Ich habe mal am Mocken. It's on Chanukah, Kedushas Revius. When a person, Rachmana litzlan, Lo Yaleinu, was hit by tragedy in the family. Let's take a case that's hard, to swallow, but it's not tragedy. It's a matzav. A baby was born, and shock. The doctor comes and says, Down syndrome. Many times they didn't say before, they suspected, and the maise, a besura. The mother is schwach nachochet from the birth and everything, and it's a bomb. Dr. Kedushas Levi, word for word, without adding, Kedushas Levi says there's a few things happening at once. Part of the pain, huge part of the pain is because you waited and we're looking forward and we're imagining simcha, cuteness, whatever it was, and then boom, something else happened. Dr. Kedushas Levi, and this is what lies within his words. That part is the biggest pain right now because you built up for the momentum. And when someone's misava so badly, because they're getting ready and they're not easy, 9 months of pregnancy and everything. And after all that, boom! It could be a stillbirth. We said one example of a Down syndrome. It could be any matzav. That is pain because of a desire that you opened up in the heart, desire, and it was an unfulfilled desire. You were left like this in a shock. From the matzav you were, all of a sudden you can't imagine. It takes time for it to digest. All the Kedushas Levi, it dies down by the minute. This part of the Nisoyan is clearly gets less and less. It dies. How do you say this? Dwindles. Subsides. So red weniger and weniger. Why? Why is that? Very simple. It's very simple because it works both ways. Both ways, I mean, when it's a Besura Toiva, the Simcha is not only that peak and then he gets used to it. The other way it's the Zel Bazach. Why? Because once the person meets the reality, it's hard for them, but it takes. It can take a few weeks, till the person gets back to it. Then the desire is already finished. It's history. Now you're left only with the Metzias. The Metzias has its, its nisyanis, its challenges. But you should just know it's not going to stay like that. It's going to be pretty quick until it's not going to weigh down.
Meister Yaakov Kalinetsky, he wrote a Kedushim, I think it was on the whole Rambam. And when things in Europe were a mess, he mailed it to a relative in America. It never arrived. It disappeared. So he said, he told himself, Yaakov, they say you're an Eloi. He says, you know that a year from now it's not going to hurt so bad as it hurts now. So make today a year from now. Right?
He was an Eloi.
Yeah.
Eloi works mathematical.
Yeah.
And a year from now it's not going to hurt you so much. So, let's already now imagine it's in a year from now. But it's a very important nechama for a person to understand, to know what's happening. Not only that it's going to become better. Not only you should understand why it's going to become better, because this is the pain. The pain is the rotzen that was not in the smiling. It was the opposite. Many times a chasana that flaps. But it's when it's nefach le'evil mechilenu. There's a few parts to the problem. One part is the person says, "I was so looking forward for this. For months, I've been looking forward for this. It's going to be so beautiful." And then, when the blow comes, there's a separate tsar that they stay with that desire unfulfilled azoi. Besides what's happening, it's not a call for them. It's just lazy. And you should know, mizach machazik, it's a little bit like physical pain then. It's physical pain. At kedekach, aber es geht with every minute passing by, the person is machazik. The more a person is machazik, it's going to go a little bit quicker. Now, this is also a big answer and a big explanation the person should understand. Many times, a person has Yisurim, and if they think about the technicals of the Yisurim, they can understand why they're so oismensch. They were working on something, and they were working towards something, and then all of a sudden, the whole thing fell apart. And like, and if you wouldn't have been working on it, imagine, nothing happened to your life now. Baruch Hashem, everybody's fine. But is this tsar of a person is misave for something, and then it's not nismal, there's a separate tsar. And they have to get over it. They have to get over it. Missing a flight is like one of those. You go, you pack, you run to, you go. No, you missed the flight. So what? Nothing. A day later, whatever. So you took the next flight. What happened? Nothing happened. But when you worked up, and then it flopped, it's not a geschmack feeling. It's important to chazer it, because on the way people could do damage.
But expectations.
Also, it's not only expectations goes under this umbrella. That means sometimes people have unrealistic expectations, and then they have a lot of this tsar. It's the exact word.
Not even unrealistic. I expect to make my flight. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the more people could expect something should happen, but it doesn't go deep into their essence and the rotza. The more a person gets involved, and they're already imagining, and they're in life, many, even I said it's even a simcha. They were looking forward for that simcha, and then an hour before, they have a kibbutz av situation. Nothing happened, but they have like something is missing because they were looking forward to something. It's different types of different scenarios of the day-to-day nesyonis that we have. So this is, a person should understand, Aleph, that it's a different type of star and a different type of simcha. And Beis, Kedushas Levi goes and explains, this goes upwards, this goes downwards, how things work. Over us, now comes what you're saying. How could a person be magdim refuah l'maka? That means, so what's the avoid of a person to help themselves be happy in any given matziv? So usually we react afterwards. That means a person lives without thinking I'm going to be talking the whole time. Why? Because Baruch Hashem Sagait, it's like, Hashem, if I'll need you, I'll tell you. Bli neder. So they're just going, no. Boom, something happened. Now they have to take out, I want to be talking. So what am I supposed to believe now? They get all into it. But then it's a little bit too late, because now, of course, there's a teva. Like a woman that's waiting to give birth to a baby, there's a certain teva, which you can't go against the metzias. But what is expected of a person is to constantly chazer, and that's really the idea of Kriya Shema, is there are surprises, and surprises are latov. You have to put it into the system. The Gemara says, Yagdim Tefillah, the Tefillah that you daven before is a stronger Tefillah. There's no dinim yet, but it's not only so things shouldn't happen, it's also that the nefesh should be prepared. The nefesh should be prepared. Things are latov, like Bisilul. That means the person never generated such strong expectations, and they're always ready to have to run. It's interesting. Atzolah members get into prominent Atzolah members. They've been through a lot of matzovim. There's a lot of such people, 20, 30 years in the line. Leaving the Shabbos Suda for Pikuach Nefesh is like something the family is used to. This is his mitzvah. It's Kiyum Olam Olei. Just it'll drop, and it's in different kind of matzavim. It could be middle of the Seder Nacht, and they are running. It's a fact. But when the mind gets used to this concept again and again and again, and the person could become a better Eved Hashem, but more than that, not have such lows when you saw this happen. And also, and this is the second half of Kedushas Levi, a person should get used to taking chiyas of the mitzvah itself. It complements the more chitzoniistic hype of working yourself up for something and then just being besimcha no matter what. It means it's not really different when a child wants so badly certain type of stickers, like the puffy stickers, and like that's the whole, and they get it and they're like jumping from joy, and a person that's older and you put something else instead of those stickers. Like they say that the difference between men and boys is the price of their toys. It's nicht chilik. And even if it's something be'emes that's officially big in Adam Hazeh, but what's the excitement that you're having? It's none of the etzem zach. It's that you got there. It's that you made it. It's chaval. Because the only reason that a person has such a desire, such a tzoyrich for such types of satisfaction, I'm not talking about Aveira B'chlal, we're talking about the halachiyah of a person. That they're working towards something and they got to the next level. It's a good. She'ifas, it's always good. But beser, Yesodi is when a person takes chiyas, I did a mitzvah now. I'm very excited. So then if Hashem says, whoop, mitzvah changed. You know those screens that all of a sudden flight delayed. You're wondering if it's your flight. All of a sudden it changed. What's interesting is that sometimes it's like after you're boarding, they take you till the last cancelled. The last second. Cancelled. More by the domestic. It's more matzoi. The last second, like what? You're not serious. But if a person gets used to by a mitzvah, that he takes chiyus on the mitzvah itself, again, for a second, he has to reroute. But when he does, he could take now chiyus on this new mitzvah. Like that fellow member that's now doing now, he knows this is my shlichus, and I'm ready, nafshi is dik, but I take chiyus from the mitzvah. And then what happens is, then it's moisav hoilach. Then it's moisav hoilach. Another mitzvah. So the more a person observes their emotional graph, like what's happening, a person will find that it's mamish fascinating. How did he know the Kedushas Levi so clearly? The bitochen is that a person should constantly feel I'm in Hashem's hands. I'm not running the world. Surprises are going to be all the time. And part of the reason of surprise is bedafke, to bring me to achno. And I'm good. And the arrangements bring it latoiva. Take chiyus from the mitzvah itself and from being. When a person gets used to doing something like, I've worked on this for years, a person says, Baruch Hashem, I got there. It's taka a simcha, which is nice, but it's, don't live your life like that. It's soifa mar, because many times you're not going to be able to get there. People are doing chinuch with children that come from all types of families. They try to make them from Lamoshel. You win some, lose some. It's the Metzias Advorim. And a lot of times it's a lot of work went in there, and it's like hearts and time and energy, and you could put in your whole heart.
Thought it was working.
It was. And if it's kufa, it was mamish going up, and then you lost everything. It's painful. But if a person gets used to that, you got to do, and I'm having the chiyas, that right now, the present. From the present, I'm having the chiyas. I'm talking to a person about the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's my chiyas. Of course, a person wants to see Toitzois, Chazal say, it's nothing wrong with it. But when you build on mitzvahs itself, tzitzis and tefillah and krishma and shemona esrei and tzedakah, you take chiyas. That helps a person to be moisav hoilach, v'chalta v'savota. I mean, you turn into such a kenzayim kenzulein. There's a chinuch explains the Gemara Masechtas Brochas. The Gemara Masechtas Brochas says that when a person eats mozain, lechem, So there's a mitzvah Esed D'Oraisa at the bench. Birchas HaMozen. And there's only one more bracha that's D'Oraisa. That's Birchas HaTorah. Which is the equivalent. It's because there's thanking on Mozain for the Guf and thanking on Mozain for the Neshama. Now the Gemara has a Shakla B'Tarya, not direct, but the Gemara talks about that. What's the reason why when you thank on Mozain Gashmi it's afterwards? The Gemara, when you thank on Mozain Ruchni, it's beforehand. The Gemara discusses it. It's an interesting for now. For what's it is also. And the Chanukah explains, it's in Parshas Eikev by Birchas HaMozen, by the mitzvah. He says, B'dover Ruchni, a person could take chiyas from the Torah even before. It means they could already understand what they have. They could already thank on B'Mashenka B'Mozen Gashmi. You need to feel the satisfaction. You can't have the beginner of Achille. So it can sign that it's connected to what we're learning, that it would make enough kamina if the Birchas HaTorah is on the Hakora. Even I didn't learn yet, but the Ashabach Habono. It's like the Kedushas Levi says that the Rebbe Shem gave me his Torah. I didn't learn it yet, but I could already dance now because he calls it the besura that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants me and is masking to talk to me. That's the yesod of Birchas HaTorah. That's the yesod of Birchas HaTorah. By Mozain, it doesn't have that understanding because it doesn't show that kirva. It's also Hashem lo ilayachsa. By Mozain, it was a vegestalt on the Vesavoto chelik. Yeah, but upon him, it's be'emes food for thought, and it's zach and it's a negeya midayim b'yoyim. Okay.
I was just in the middle of listening. At a convention this year. So they had a whole session on anxiety.
A session on anxiety.
3 speakers, 4 speakers. Says this Joey Heber from the series.
Yeah.
So he was speaking and he said that everyone was giving their thoughts why there's so much anxiety. So he said that he thinks it's connected to this. In other words, everyone has stages in life they always want it. If I get there, it'll be good. People think if I just get married, be good. If I just have a child, be good. And they're thinking, and he says it's never going to happen, but it's made worse now by all the images in the social media that you think everyone else has it. Look, they got this, he made money, he bought that house, now he's happy, now he's doing, I don't have it, and he says the pain never goes away because it's always increased and added on by something else. It's
fascinating.
Yeah.
It's mamash fascinating.
Yeah.
Mamash these yisoidis. I couldn't believe it. Kedushas Levi, it's a masterpiece. It means that that's what you just said. Then that's sum it up. That means our generation is worse off in the sugya. And the simon is anxiety. Yeah, but people have anxiety. Stam that Arabs are going to come. He wasn't talking about that.
No, in other words, it's important. Jacobson says very important. People mix up anxiety means person's worried, a person is depressed. This as opposed to like physical, actual anxiety is a disease that affects the person physically. That's he says that's why it's terrible to tell a person who suffers from anxiety, you should have more bitachon. You have bitachon, there's no daiga. He said it's not daiga.
It's something else.
Yeah. There it's
like they told me that there's a lot of darga. There's worry, there's anxiety, and there's panic attack. Right. They told me it's one darga worse than anxiety.
Yeah, that's when the person can't breathe and
real physical.
Yeah. But sometimes also it's the idea of anxiety that this thoughts you can't get out of your head. They keep going.
Obsessed.
Again and again. Yeah, it's kind of obsessive. Like even social anxiety. Somebody had a Shabbos student by somebody, and they think I shouldn't have said that. And
they get stuck in it.
Yeah. And they play it again and again and again and again. These are.
Yeah, but I find that the suya from being obsessed, that means the mind is just chazering 100 times. People have a sensitivity to it. I mean, even if it's not labeled as but they're sensitive that when they get hooked to a machshava, it just repeats. It's hard for them to disconnect. All right.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem.
No, a world also that keeps giving you